Hello and welcome to another episode of Control Alt Access. It's a podcast where we talk about video game accessibility. I'm one of your hosts, Laura, and I'm here as ever with my lovely co-host and award winner, Arevia. Hey!
Hey, Laura. We can now introduce this podcast like podcast about accessibility with award-winning hosts.
Oh, both of us are award-winning accessibility hosts. Oh, no getting to see you in the Leonardo DiCaprio outfit today. The universe was like, no, it's been too long. It's Arevia's turn to win an award.
Oh, yeah, that was
Congratulations,
amazing.
by the way. For anyone who didn't see, this was the GA Conf Awards. Arevia won the Advocacy Award. It was the last award of the night, and I was so happy for you. I was
Thank you.
From what I can tell, you didn't watch it live.
No, I didn't. Which is so.
I saw it live, and I was just like, I gotta congratulate you.
The thing was that it was actually. Oh God, no! I've forgotten their name. I'm so bad with name. But the amazing journalist that has written all these amazing pieces that we talked about a million times. Oh my God, what is his name again?
Yes.
Something.
Who writes the things that IGN? Grant Stoner.
Yes, the first thing I actually saw when I was out walking with my dog was a tag of him tagging me saying congratulations, and I was like, what? Because I knew the award was, and I went out on a walk with Luna. Just because I was just like, I'm going to be too afraid to watch this. So I'm just going to go for a walk. And then, I came in and I filmed myself, which I'm really, really glad I did. Because that film, I'm going to treasure that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I filmed it, I made a TikTok out of it. And it was actually looking at it back and seeing myself being so happy that I won is just... It was.
It's so sweet. I had a similar one last year when I won the Best PR and Comms, I think it was, that I was up for last year.
Yeah.
I managed to catch finding out that I'd won it on video, and it is so lovely to have that little bundle of excitement to get to watch back on and be like, yeah, we did it.
And I also love that I called all of my family and friends, and I have it recorded. Because I put them on speaker and I recorded it. So at the end of the video on TikTok, you can actually see me calling Björnar and my mom and dad and everyone. And they just hearing the excitement. The only bad thing was that I didn't hit record quick enough. So I didn't get my, Björnar, my husband's proper start of the recording when he was just like, are you joking? This is incredible. And he was so happy and I cried and everything. So yeah.
Being able to share a thing like that with the people you love is one of the best things. I've been nominated for things for years, and much like you've talked about before, you've had the nominated many times and not won. I had that for many years as well. The first award with an actual trophy I ever won was the Women in Games Awards in 2024.
Yep.
I got given 2+1 tickets, and it's the first time I ever invited a family member to come with me. I invited my mum along to the awards, and don't know why I did for that one, but it meant that my mum got to be there in the room when I got to go up and win an award. I was like, it was so much more special because I got to be excited with the people I love like that. It makes it special.
It does. It do make it special. So yeah.
So yes, congratulations.
Thank you. It is incredible, and I went into LinkedIn and I changed my description of the job I do to award winning.
Yeah. And that, look, we've got the GA Conf Awards also seemingly will only award one of us an award per year. I got it last year, you got it this year. We're too powerful if we both win at the same time.
We
gotta work out whose turn it is next, and maybe eventually they'll build the infrastructure so we can both win in the same year.
Maybe next year it will be this podcast.
Exactly. We'll get this podcast nominated. I don't know what it would get nominated for, but it's going to get nominated for something. we'll have an episode where we do some big journalistic report on the show, which is definitely our vibe.
Yeah.
Well,
But Laura, how you been?
I have been good. A little peek behind the curtain. The thing that's made me have a good week has been nothing to do with accessibility stuff. My favorite band of all time, My Chemical Romance. Short version. I've been making some videos about them recently, completely unconnected to what I'm about to get to. Just because I've been autistic info dumping about this band I like. One of the videos I made like a few weeks ago was about their back in 2012, they recorded an album that they never released for various reasons that was lost to the sands of time.
Yeah.
That album might have just surfaced on the internet this past week.
Oh, that's cool.
I might have spent a week straight just listening to the first new music in like 15 years from my favorite band.
Yeah.
And being like, look, I get why they never released it officially, and I understand that, but also the autism has been fed real good this week.
As it should be.
Well, should we jump in and talk a little bit about some stuff we've been playing recently?
Let's do that.
Yeah, where do we want to start?
Well, I can start with a game I'm not going to talk about because you have talked about it extensively.
Yeah.
But I did play Ball Like Spit, and it is a really, really fun game.
Is this your first time playing it?
Yes, it's my first time playing it, and it is really, really fun. But I did, like, I had, like, one thing that we're thinking about. I have played so many. I am on an like indie games vibe at the moment.
Yeah.
So I was just like, is it this game I had a query with? No, I actually, and when I'm thinking about it, this was the game that actually had a lot of accessibility, impressively enough. So it wasn't this game. Yes, what it actually was. It was the fact that I wish there were more things you could have turned off on screen. So I am struggling a bit where when I am playing and I am far out in game. So let me actually just tell people what it is if you haven't listened to the previous episodes. So Ball Like Spit is a game where it's level based, sort of, can we call it sort of roguelike maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's an auto scroller. So you scroll, you go up where enemies come towards you, you have a ball, and that ball has a special quality with it, and you can upgrade it or get more balls, and then you attack the enemies. And it's almost what you're trying to do is just get through all the enemies and do the boss at the end. And then each level has a different boss and different things about it, like an ice level or a poison level, and so on and so on. And you can also have different characters that does different things, like some characters sends out 2 balls, some characters attack from behind, and so on and so on. So it gets to be quite a large game in the end. But what I figured that was, when I had like all of these different accessibility, was the fact that in the end, everything sort of like makes a little tick every time you attack it. So the enemies sort of do something when you attack them. And then it pops up number of how much you attacked it for, and so on and so on. And sometimes on screen, it can be like 50 balls on screen at the same time, hitting different enemies at the same time. And I had to say that even though I like this game, I can never play more than 1 to 2 rounds at a time without actually getting problems.
Yeah. It's a bit overwhelming at the best of times. As much as I love it, it is a bit overwhelming.
Yes, and since it also has sort of that Tetris effect where when you close your eyes, you can sort of still see the enemies coming towards you because of the slow scrolling effect. It has been a bit hard to play it as much as I wish to. So I wish and I hope for a future update, because they have a lot of other accessibility, which you have talked about before, and I highly recommend people to go in and look it up, because these accessibility are good. That was just one thing I was just like, I wish they will update this at least.
Agreed. Yeah. It's an interesting game. Like, the more I've been thinking about it, the more there's stuff in there that I hadn't been thinking about as accessibility, but definitely is recently I've been thinking about. One of the characters you can unlock fairly early is a character that makes the decisions for you about which level ups to pick and like what upgrades to pick. And one of the things that does is if there are like combinations you've not done before, it might go for those. So it'll show you, oh, these things combine, and now you get the tooltips of like, oh, that does combine with that.
Yeah.
To help you learn those combinations that, you'd otherwise be fumbling to learn through experimentation. There's a lot of interesting things like that, but it's also wildly overwhelming.
Yeah, it is. But it was fun, and I had fun with it, and it is on my like indie route right now. It has been fun playing it, and I like these kind of games that can be played in your own terms because you can slow it down so much, which is something I really enjoy.
Agreed. Do you want to do your list all in one go at the start here?
I can do. I've also played a game called Quarantine Zone, which is all the rage on Twitch I've seen. And it is a game where you are in a quarantine zone, much like sort of Paper Please, but this time it's 3D and you do not have a time limit. So you get humans coming to you, you have to check them out if they are infected, and they can have like bite marks, they can have infection in their eyes, they can have like glowing snot out of their nose. You have to check the items they have with them, and like you have to remove contraband if they are smuggling through their butthole. Like there's all these really, really weird things you have to do, but it is fun. It's one of these Papers, Please games. But what I really do enjoy with this game is that you have all the time in the world. I literally mean it. You can use 4 hours on one level or one day as it is, and it has nothing to say. And I have to say that like one of the reasons why I often do not play these Paper Please games, even though they are games I enjoy, it is because I cannot find it in me to be stressed with time. Games for me is to have fun. So then when if I get too stressed, then I just like, I feel like sort of my free time is sort of being not used in a good way. So for me, this has been really nice. I played through the whole game. I had a lot of fun. And I found it to not be as hard. But that said, the game isn't that accessible. There isn't that much things you can do with accessibility. There is a bunch of things to do with like toggle to hold. So for each item you have, you can, instead of having to hold in like the thing you can hold to scan over people to see on their skin if they have any like bits or scratches, you don't need to hold that button. You can just toggle it and it will be held by itself. And a lot of these things, you can also play it with a controller, and you are not like in need of using sound. The game gives you everything on screen. So if there is something on screen, there is always something on screen that tells you sort of how what like you're listening to their lungs, and then it will tell you, has this person a healthy lung sound or a virus lung sound. The only thing is that, and this is going to tie in with the other game I'm going to talk about, and that is that I am a bit like fed up with accessibility being locked behind unlocks in the game.
Because I've been having this conversation with some developers recently. It's not good.
Because one of the things that it does is that you can unlock the possibility to get your stethoscopes, you're listening through the lungs, to show you green, orange or red, depending on if you're supposed to, as they say in game, liquidate them or let them go to the quarantine zone, or just like go through to the camp where they're safe. And I just wish this was added in, or something else would added in for accessibility reasons, because especially in games like this where there isn't any scoreboard at the end, it isn't anything else you're playing towards your like against yourself. Why not give this extra help? If it just could have been help, like hard of hearing help in the settings, where you could just like get up a number or something that could show you what you're supposed to listen to, that would be really, really good. And that takes me into a game called Leave It Alone. This is the absolute dumbest game I have played, and I played it almost 100% because I absolutely loved it. As you might have guessed by listening to the title, this is a game about picking leaves, Laura. You wake up.
That sounds pretty good.
You wake up with amnesia and go like, I don't know where I am. I don't know why I'm here, but why is it all these leaves in the garden? I need to pick them up. And you pick one by one leaf until you open a zone. And it's so good.
This would be me if I got amnesia. I don't know who I am, but I do. Somewhere deep in me is still a compulsion to clean and tidy and organize.
Yes.
I've got to make sure everything's tidy, even if I have no idea who I am.
Yes, and this game is so good for it. And what, like, the best thing I like about it is that you slowly, like, incrementally open up new things. But, and there's a big but, like, I cannot lie. Problem I have is that the first 100 leaves, so you have to pick 50 leaves to throw away your first garbage bag, and then you get money for that. And then you have to throw away 2 garbage bags, so 100 leaves together, to pay for your first upgrade. And the first upgrade is toggle to hold.
Oh.
And like, so I luckily... Well, everything else in my health is going to hell lately. My arthritis is actually quite good at the moment, which means that I could do 100 clicks. But I have so many friends I cannot recommend this game for, because it actually is good, because it is a mouse-only playable game, or like you can just play it with a mouse if you want to, or controller. Yeah. So it is so accessible. It's also one-handed if you need it to be. It's so accessible.
Yeah.
But then you have that
It's just that first little hurdle that I'm sure the developer probably thought about and went, that's not that big of a hurdle to cross, and just didn't think about it beyond that.
Because even like things like the leaves even has like outlines so that you see them easier. But it's just that one thing. If just that, like, can that picking be something, like, can't that first achievement, because that first achievement, what it actually does is just to learn you that you can upgrade. It's an achievement to teach you upgrading system. It is to make you understand that this is what you're doing. So I can understand that they have thought like, okay, but it's so small, it needs to be something small. But cannot that small be anything else than an accessibility?
Yeah.
So I have a bit of it like annoying, because I love that game so much. But I know there is so many hundreds, thousands of people out there that would love this game, but do not have 100 clicks in them.
Indeed, yeah.
And then I have, like, on the more positive side, I also played like more of these like quarantine zone kind of game, but it's called Lost But Found. It is a game where you work at an airport, you get in stuff, and then you have to give it to people. Problem with that game, it was that it was timed, played some level, wasn't for me. Again, cannot do timed. But it was fun enough for what it was. But what it had actually is that it had something called ADHD and autism filter.
Okay.
And so, for me, it was a bit weird though, because I thought when it said ADHD and autism filter that it would take off the time aspects of it, because that is what I feel a lot of us neurodivergent people struggle with, like the time management part. But what it actually took off, which also is 100% correct, so I'm not going to fault them for it, but it took off like annoying sounds that sort of is added into the game to make it more stressful, like alarms or extra sounds when you do a mistake and stuff. It just took those away. So it's a filter to reduce noise inputs, to be honest, and I enjoyed it. Sadly, I couldn't continue with the game just again due to it being too stressful with time, but it was nice. This is like a itty bitty in this studio kind of game. So I'm glad to see that even so small studios have something with accessibility.
Yeah. That feels like a setting that could do with being renamed, because like autism and ADHD are both such spectrum conditions, and there's a few different places where they intersect. Calling it autism and ADHD filter, it's very unclear what that does.
Yes.
Like, there's no one clear thing where it's like, ah, yes, the one agreed upon overlap between these two things.
The only thing I have to say for the defense, sort of, is that they did explain it underneath what it did. So I am wondering, without like saying anything, that maybe they themselves or they know somebody who has ADHD and autism, and this is their trigger. This is the one thing that they cannot handle with their neurodivergent. And I wondered if that was like maybe why they called it that. But it was interesting, and I have made a TikTok about it that most likely will be posted when this come out, where I want to ask the audience, like, what would an ADHD autism filter be for you? Like, what would that entail? Because as you say, it is such a big spectrum, it has so many things. So what would you like to see if something was called that?
I hear that and I go, I wouldn't want a combined thing for that. I would want two separate things, because the things I need for ADHD and the things I need for autism are so different fundamentally. Like, as far as, like, you know, other people have different experiences of having these two things at the same time, but for me, being ADHD autistic means that I have two different disabilities pulling me in two different directions, demanding two different things of me.
Yep.
And the needs of one are always very different to the needs of the other.
Yeah.
And I have to sit here in the middle trying to keep the two of them roughly pleased.
Yeah, I can see that. And the last game I want to... Now, I feel like I've talked for hours now. We should go back to do each of each.
We got plenty of time.
But the last I want to talk about is This Seat Taken? So Is This Seat Taken is a game...
This game is charming.
Yes. You are figures, shapes, and you're following a story of a shape called Nat, I think it is. And they are, trombone, is that what you call it in... Yeah. Which is like a square on the side. And you're following their story through the world. And every time they need to do something where they need to sit, you have to place them in that scenario. So say like they are taking a class, you have to place down where this character sits, and all their classmates is going to sit. And everyone has a different kind of what they wish for. Say like somebody wants to sit beside somebody else they can chat with, or somebody wants to sit where the AC is because they're hot. Somebody is sensitive to the cold, so they need to sit outside the AC, and so on and so on. And these are different scenarios for each level. It is like an airport, train, a bus, classroom, a stadium, and so on and so on. So it's a really fun little puzzle game that you have no time, and you can use as long as you want. And
it's got really nice iconography as well, for like you put a person in a place and they'll instantly, with like very simple icons, go, they're happy with where you put them, they're not happy with where you've put them, oh, that's fine, but I'd rather be somewhere else. It's all like very easy feedback.
Yes, and it's also quite easy. Like it is a puzzle, and I struggled a bit in some levels. I used longer than other, but I, except one level of all the like 40 levels I did or something, or no, more than 60 levels, I felt stuck. So and that was just because I didn't understand the information I've been given. So I thought I had to sit somebody in one row in the stadium, but I could have put them all the way in the front, but I just didn't understand that. So it was more me. But why I wanted to talk about it was because I realized how brilliant they have done with colorblind accessibility. Because we drag so many games on this channel for their horrible use of color filters, where this game has done something that I think is so beautiful. So what you often do is that, say you have a character that talks, and talking makes sound, so you don't want to sit them next to somebody who's reading. But how large that like circle of sound is, or the zone of sound is, depends. So they are indicating that with colors. So say like somebody who is talking or singing or on their phone will have a radius of 4 seeds to each side, where you cannot put somebody who either want to sleep or read or something else. But instead of just using color, they also use shades or shapes. So in the color, like it's pink, that indicates that this is a soundful area, but it's pink with dots.
Yes.
So no matter how you perceive colors, you will be able to understand what they're meaning because they have added shapes. You are never reliant only on color by itself. By design, this is not an option. This is the design of the game, making first and foremost the design much more intricate and pretty to look at, and also accessible for more people. This is a brilliant example of universal design, which is design for all, design for one, design for all. And I just absolutely love them for it because it seems so effortless, but it means so much.
It's a lovely little game, that.
Yes. So Laura, what have you been playing these couple of weeks?
I'm gonna get one out the way first. There's a kind of a heavy one to talk about. It's one that I played through literally today and is been on my mind. I played through a game, it's about an hour long, called And Roger. This came out in the summer of last year, and I've only just gotten around to playing it. It's about an hour long. And I will give you a heads up now before we start talking about it. It is a game about the experience of living with dementia. It is very...
I was just quickly going to say that we have on YouTube tags for the chapters. So if you are sensitive to this topic and cannot listen to it right now, you can just jump to the next chapter on YouTube.
Well put, there'll be timestamps so you can jump ahead to the next game. So yeah, this game reminds me a lot in its art style and gameplay style presentation of something like Florence, if any of you have ever played that, which was a game a few years back about a relationship that did very simple on-screen mini games was the way you interacted with it. This is very simple, very similar. It is largely like an interactive comic where you are occasionally doing little interactions with the game, and those interactions are designed more to evoke feeling and the tone of something more than they are to be like a challenge necessarily to overcome. The perspective of the game is you are playing as this woman who is living with dementia, and it's split into 3 chapters that are exploring different parts of her life before, during, and throughout living with the condition. It starts in quite a heavy place. I could talk a little bit about where it starts. The game starts with what seems to be you playing as a young girl, unsure where your dad's gone to and why there's this strange man in your house, and not your dad. And it becomes apparent kind of quickly that, like, oh no, this is your husband and you aren't quite sure when you are right now. And a lot of the mechanical stuff that this game explores early on is things like struggling to do basic tasks, and those tasks getting more difficult to do when under distress. So like an early example is trying to brush your teeth and you've got 4 buttons on screen, none of which are labeled, that you might through trial and error realize like, oh, this one is get the toothbrush out, this one is what I have in the other hand, so that's toothpaste, this turns the tap on, this puts the toothbrush in my mouth, but none of them are labeled, so you're struggling to do what should be a basic activity, getting frustrated with yourself at like, I know what I'm trying to do, but the buttons aren't doing it right. And the more stressed or pressured you become, the more buttons there are on screen, that some of which do nothing. The button that does, maybe the button that puts the toothpaste on the toothbrush, that button's moving around and there's other buttons around, so like in the time since you've done something else, you've lost track of where that button is now. As like trying to capture the frustration and stress that can come with mentally struggling to do a thing that you knew how to do previously. Other parts of the game explore themes such as the unreliability of memory. I don't want to go too much into depth on this. I think this is one of the more impressive things that the game handles, is mechanically putting you in the shoes of an unreliable narrator and portraying the friction that comes between being confident in your own memory of how things went, but knowing that your memory is flawed, and having an argument with someone who you know has a better memory than you, but you don't the thing they're telling you doesn't seem right, and how frustrating that's going to be for both sides. It ends in a really lovely place, but understandably it is a heavy journey. It is
Yeah.
about an hour, and it does not shy away from the highs and lows of the journey that these characters go through. Um, it is one of the most emotionally impactful games about disability that I have played in a very long
Yeah.
time. As someone who, I have family who have had rapidly degenerative mental health conditions. I've had a grandmother who had a brain tumor that very similarly mimicked a lot of these
Yeah.
conditions. I've known people who lived very close to where I did growing up who had dementia, and I have memory condition issues of my own, and I stress about the worry that this might be me one day. I think it handles the topic very respectfully, very with from a perspective that is very understanding both of how frustrating it is for the person with the
Yeah.
disability and how differently and uniquely challenging it is for the partner living with the person. And it has a lot of space for, it's okay that both of you are struggling in very different ways as you try and navigate this together,
It's
without making one like this
yeah.
is the one who's having it harder.
And I think often whenever I do talks or consultation or anything around surrounding accessibility and then around cognitive accessibility, I
Yeah.
think often it is important to understand that cognitive accessibility affects everybody who has some sort of disability. And
Yeah.
it can be affected by different ways of like you can have an illness that affects your brain, but it also can just be the extra energy it takes on because society is not made up for you. So say you are paralyzed and it does only affect
Yeah.
your feet and you're dealing with it very well. The extra energy you have to do to move around in society that is not made for you to move around, that extra strain does
Yeah.
it that it can affect you cognitive. So I think things
Yeah.
like these are often so hitting home because
Hmm.
yes, we and I do not experience dementia, but the loss of cognitive and like being over,
Yeah.
yeah, overwhelmed, fatigued, brain fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one of the things in one of the moments in this that really hit home for me, again, as someone who has cognitive disabilities, obviously different to dementia, but there is a sequence that I think this game handles very well that's shown from two sides. From the husband's side, who has the partner with dementia, um, the soup that was meant to be for dinner gets spilt over the kitchen floor. While he is trying to clear that up, he looks over and goes, "Oh, and you've made a mess of the bathroom while I was trying to make a mess, like trying to clean up the last mess you made." From her perspective, she is emotionally overwhelmed by the mess that's gone on in the kitchen, and is stressed and overwhelmed, and is finding things harder than usual because of that. And small slip ups in the bathroom are starting to spiral. She's trying to take care of these things herself, and tidy up after herself and clear these things up as to not cause another problem that her husband's going to have to deal with. But because she's getting stressed, tasks are getting harder to do, and she's causing problems while trying to clean up prior problems because she's getting frustrated with that whole. And this is something I can really empathize with.
Yes.
I could do this before. I can normally do this. Why can't I do it now?
Yeah.
And each time you can't do something that you know you can normally do, the frustration and the stress builds, and then other things that are normally doable get harder as well. And that sort of snowballing, spiraling of one thing's gone wrong, and now I can't help but fuck everything up.
Yeah.
Um, is really relatable, and
Really.
it's again, the story does such a good job of going. You can completely see from the husband's side of things why that would be frustrating, and you can completely see from her side why this would be so stressful and why it's so his frustration would be so stressful for her to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Roger is a fantastic game if you've got an hour or so. The game opens with a warning that says, "Hey, play this if you're don't play this unless you're in a good frame of mind." I played it in a good frame of mind, and I still walked away pretty tearful, and then had to just sit for half an hour and take it in. But it's like £3, and I think it is a very effective game for conveying empathy with cognitive disabilities of varying kinds, and that it can be true that it's hard for people living with a disabled person, but also it is true it is difficult for the disabled person to live with, and that both of those experiences are difficult in different ways. And
Yes.
learning to how do you have empathy for both sides of that situation?
Yes.
So yeah,
humans are complex, and emotions around humans are even more complex. So yeah.
Yeah. So I played some stuff that was a little less heavy than that. And I'm not going to go too into depth on these. I can go through some of these pretty quickly. I played a demo for an interesting game that is going to be difficult from an accessibility perspective to play for people, but I think is interesting to talk about. I played the demo for a game called Pragmata.
Oh yeah.
So this is a shooter that's published by Capcom, where you are this like spaceman with a little android girl on your back fighting a bunch of robots in a space station. But the gimmick is the robots are basically like the bits of them that can be damaged properly are like closed up inside of them. So you have to in real time do a little bit of puzzle gameplay to hack them and open them up to be able to shoot them and do proper damage.
Yeah.
So these robots come at you quite slowly, and your A, B, X, and Y buttons on your controller are used to do a little minigame that is basically get your icon to the green square. And maybe you go through some colored spaces along the way, and that might get you extra benefits, but really it's just an up, down, left, and right grid, get to the green square, now you can start shooting. Obviously, that's a couple of things to be keeping track of mentally at once. There are tools to help give you more breathing room and more time to do that puzzle. Early on, you get a gun that shoots like an electrified net, which will hold enemies in place for a second to give you time to do that minigame. I stressed with this a lot at first. I really enjoyed the idea, but I initially thought I had to go through all of the blue squares on the way to the green square. Like, that's how the puzzle was kind of presented to me. When I learned, oh, you can go through just one and that's fine. You don't have to go through multiple. Going through multiple will keep the robot hacked for longer, but you can get around that. I found it a lot easier. I was a lot less stressed about doing the puzzle properly and just going, okay, the green square somewhere to the right and down, I'll sort of go right and down and that'll probably do it. I would say if you're interested in the idea, check out the demo. There is like a 15-minute long demo that will give you a pretty good idea. Is this going to be something you can juggle in your head or not? I played it on Switch 2. The Switch 2 demo is really nice. It runs at 60 FPS. It's one of the nicest looking things I've played on Switch 2. So yeah, Pragmata seems interesting. It does require a bit of mental juggling.
I am watching the trailer now, and I used to have a legit like fear for dolls. And the lady or Diana is like triggering. I can feel the hairs on my back just standing up, going like, "No, thank you."
Not for you.
No, for me, no. No.
Well, you know what might be for you? A game with a lot of accessibility stuff in it that I've been really enjoying is Cairn, which is that indie game about climbing a big mountain.
Yes, I have just downloaded it. I haven't been able to play it yet, but oh my god,
I've put a few hours in and I'm really loving this game. So this is one of the games. This was in. We showed this off in the Accessibility Summer Showcase last year. This is a game about being just one woman climbing a mountain. Specifically, it is a fictional mountain that is taller than Everest, and no human has ever climbed to the summit. About 90 people have died climbing it in the last year, and you're going to try and get to the top of it. You are a woman who I would estimate is maybe in her 30s, but she looks like she's seen some things that have aged her beyond that. Um, she's got family, she's got a loving partner. She's not taking them with her. She's climbing up the very big mountain. I've seen some people describe the control scheme as almost like QWOP, and I get the comparisons. It's not quite as unwieldy to control as something like Octodad, but you are placing every limb specifically as you climb this mountain. Doing things like, by default, you're just like looking at the rock face and going, what looks like a stable place to put my foot, put my hand, and it will decide which limb to move next based on which limb is currently holding the least of your weight.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of accessibility things you can turn on that are really helpful. One of the first ones I turned on was when I put a limb somewhere and I like pick that's where I'm going to grab on, show me an icon if I've picked a good stable place for that hand to be. And if you don't show me an icon, I know that it's only the like pressure that's keeping my limb in that position. It's not actually a good grip. So that I have a good sense of how locked in place am I currently.
Yep.
Which is really good. You have a limited number of these like poles you can stick into the wall, so if you accidentally fall, you'll only fall down as far as the last one of those you banged in. But if lack of those is a problem, you can set it so that, much like Forza Horizon, if you make a mistake and you fall off the mountain, you can just hold down some buttons and rewind and be back up on the mountain, which is really helpful. There's things like, normally you can only save if you reach like a big enough solid position to set up a tent. You can set up autosave, so anytime you have even enough room to stand stably for a moment, the game will save, which I very much appreciated. You can turn off a lot of the little mini games for things like knocking the pegs into the wall and things like that, so that they're not a bother. The game itself is just climb a big mountain.
Yep.
It's very no frills. The most gameplay choice you really have outside of where am I putting my limbs next is you might see an interesting looking something that isn't the summit and go, climbing that way isn't going to get me toward the top, but I do want to know what that is over there.
Yeah.
And you climb, and then you find out what that is, and then you keep climbing. Much like something like Breath of the Wild, going and seeing an interesting thing and going, I'm going to go find out what that is a lot of the fun on the way.
Yeah.
As is finding out the narrative as you climb, which, without saying too much, the thing you're told at the start is that your main character just wants to reach the top and reach out to the heavens. And as you climb, you start to learn it's not necessarily the kind of person who decides to climb a mountain that no one has ever made it to the top of and 90 people in the last year have died trying to climb. The kind of person who climbs that mountain maybe got some stuff to work out.
Yeah.
Maybe not the healthiest person on the planet makes that decision, and that's okay. We're going to work through that as we climb a big mountain. Much like something like Celeste.
Yes.
We're going to confront our inner demons the higher up this thing we get.
I also want to just, because I haven't played it myself yet, I am going to play it, because I've been following the developers, publishers, the game bakers for a long time on TikTok. I think they might be on Instagram as well. I actually highly recommend people to follow them. They are really into making things accessible. Like, they are one like the peak developers who actually listen to their audience and want to hear from you. So if you have something that you play this game and you cannot because there is a bug or there is a barrier, I think they will be open, or assume from seeing to how they respond to people, that they would be open to hear from you.
Yeah.
Maybe cannot fix it because not every barrier can be removed, but I absolutely do think that they would look into it.
Oh, 1,000,000%. When I was talking to them about being involved in last year's AA Summer Showcase, they were like, "We'll get a trailer to you. We want to lock in as many accessibility things as we can before we send you that trailer as possible, because this is a great excuse for us to like really get some stuff locked in." They were very excited about the opportunity to talk about accessibility is an excuse for us to really push to get more in.
Yeah.
They had a dedicated accessibility page on their website before the game was out. Obviously, they made a dedicated trailer for the AA showcase. They're very on top of like wanting to be in communication with people about accessibility.
Yep.
And so far, having played it, yeah, for a game that it is meant to be about how hard and grueling and impossible this journey is, they have not let the tone that this journey is supposed to be basically impossible stop the game from being very manageable to complete and accessible in that regard.
Yeah.
Last couple I've played that I'll do very quickly. I've been playing Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator. This is a game in which, in a fictional future space society, computers are able to predict basically everything, and nothing is a surprise anymore. And there are still people who are addicted to gambling and the stock market. And the only thing unpredictable anymore is the lives of infants. So, you go to a planet and you pick one of 4 babies, and you attempt to buy stock in that baby when the stock price is low, sell when the price is high. You gotta predict the life events of this baby and when's going to be a profitable time to invest in that child. There's a couple of things you can do for some insights in advance. You can get people that will give you insights, and they'll take a percentage of the money you earn, but they'll tell you like roughly what age is that person expected to die, or what percentage of events in their life will be positive versus negative. What's their average stock price going to be? And you know, that might be worthwhile to like take a little bit of a hit for that to get that info to work with. But largely, you're just going to be watching a graph go up and down and trying to vibe out the direction someone's life's going. A lot of it, I have spent my time watching a baby's stock price go up and going, curse you, curse you. I just shorted the futures on this because I thought your value was going to tank. I need bad things to happen to you, baby. Why are you having such a good life? Stop having a good life. I need you to have a worse time.
Oh.
And that's pretty fun. It's pretty fun rooting for a baby to have a terrible day.
As somebody with a degree in economics, I feel like this is meant for me, built for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of fun. One thing I really appreciate is, let's say I bought a bunch of cheap stock and I'm watching the price go up, and then like something happens and the stock price is about to go down. You can start mashing the button to sell off your stock like as the announcement of the bad thing happens, and try and sell as much of it as possible like in the moment that the stock value is about to turn, and like sell it before it's dropped too far from that peak. I'm like, there's always, as long as you're paying attention, there's always an ability to go, oh, that price is about to go up, I'll buy now. Oh, it's about to go down, I'll sell now. It's just number going up and down. There's nothing more to it. But the fact that it's a baby, it makes me say terrible things.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, probably where I'll leave it on things that I've played this week. Shall we talk about some newsy bits before we wrap up?
Yes, let's go.
Let's start with this one that has some accessibility pros and cons to it, potentially.
Yep.
A new should we start with the Steam one? We can start with the Steam one, yeah. So we talked about this a bunch last year, that there was one of the accessibility tags on Steam that we both had a bit of a problem with.
Yes!
This was playable without timed inputs, which we both had a problem with. Do you want to talk about this?
I had not only one problem, I had so many of them last year, and I was so angry. But here on TikTok, is so angry that the mob of angry, lonely gamers came after me. That was how angry I was, because they saw a woman that is angry about something, then we must hate her.
Yeah, I had very similar last year. Yeah.
So Steam used to have a tag called playable without timed input, but what they meant was playable without QuickTime events.
Yes. And like part of the problem here was the name that players saw was playable without timed inputs, which sounds like no time pressure button presses involved.
Yes.
What developers were seeing started being described that way, but in their like little wizard of should I or should I not put this tag on my game, by the end of it, it's saying, does your game have QuickTime events, yes or no? So it's like it's clear what the developer was being asked and what like the player was being presented weren't lining up with each other.
Yes.
And that led to like Hollow Knight Silksong, a game that definitely has timed inputs required, being playable without timed inputs, or like Dispatch, where you have timed dialogue choices being said, oh, that's playable without timed inputs. No, it's not. You can't turn off the timers.
Yes. Now that game is now called playable without QuickTime events. And also we have a new tag called playable at your own pace. Which is the games I enjoy, which is games where like time doesn't matter. If you need to take a long break, you just do that. And I absolutely love this change. I absolutely love it because I need it in my life.
I have a little quibble still.
Yep.
I think that largely this is the right thing they needed to do, which is to make it clear that that first tag is about being playable without QuickTime events. That's great. And to have a separate tag that is the tag that means there is no time pressure to your gameplay. I'm glad that they now have a second tag that is what playable without timed inputs sounded like it was in the first place. I don't know that playable at your own pace is the best name for it. Because there is some ambiguity. Does playable at your own pace mean no timers? Does it mean I can pause the game if I need to? Does it mean there's no waiting around for, like, you can only play X amount of points per day? It's like, no, I can play as much as I want. I can play at my own pace. It's not super clear, necessarily, that it means playable with no time pressures. No gameplay-related time pressures. The name of it could maybe be a little better. But this is what I've been asking for, which is Steam, rename the first one and give us a second one that means what we thought the first one meant.
And I also have to say, like, I have felt that, like, normally, and I've said this before, normally I have such ability to contact people and contact studios and everything when I have a problem with accessibility and nicely asked, like, hey, can we have a talk about this? And more often than not, they say, of course we can have a talk about it because they just want to. But Steam are notorious hard to contact for anything that is not what they want to be contacted about. And that is sadly just the reality of it. They don't have a social media present. No. So they aren't possible to like tag them or get anything out there. So it's harder to get this report back to them in any case. So I am glad to see that this has come forward.
Yeah, I don't know what got the message through to them. I know that I have some ability to contact some people at Valve. I don't know if they're the right people, but because the AA showcase was on Steam's front page last year, I did send one of our conversations about this last year to someone at Valve to go, hey, you might want to be aware of this. I never heard back, so I don't know whether our conversation had any impact or not. I'm glad they've made this change. I'm gonna suggest, hey, if someone at Valve is watching, come chat to us. Maybe we can help you find a better name for this second one. But, like, generally speaking, this is what we've asked you to do. Thank you for listening to the problem we were raising.
Yeah, and Laura,
and trying to do something good with it.
I'm going to be so delulu that I am going to think that Mr. Valve himself either watched our TikTok or watch this podcast. I'm going to be that delulu.
Oh no, I fully believe you. I want to tell myself that we single-handedly made this change, and if we say, hey, this is like 99% of the way there, it could be 1% further. But, like, you know, chat to us about it.
Yeah. We also
Gabe, thanks for listening.
We also have two new tags, which is contrast control, and which is to change contrast and equal, like, high contrast mode, but also just change the contrast of the screen, and playable without vision, which is fabulously, and I'm so glad I did not call it blind support, because that is so big. This is playable without vision. Now we're talking Last of Us. Now we're talking you do not watch the screen at all.
I'm really glad. That was maybe the biggest omission. It was the thing last year that I went, I'm surprised there's not a tag for that, and there is a tag for that now, so that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
One of the other ones we have this week for news stories is I don't know how to feel about this one right now. Sony gained a new patent in the United States a couple of weeks ago for a buttonless controller that would use touchscreens only instead of traditional inputs.
Ew.
Now, obviously, this is not a guarantee that this is a product that will exist. Maybe it's the PS6 controller. Maybe it's an optional version of the PS5 controller you can get if you want. I think it's worth talking about some of the ways this could, as an option, be positive for some disabled players.
Yes. Okay.
If all of your inputs are on a touchscreen, you can move them around as much as you want. Like, that's a great thing. You know, there are some pros, but there's also a lot of cons.
Yeah. Okay, let's start being positive. So the positive thing is that not everybody has hands that look like mine, which means that either it is just the size of your hand being bigger or smaller, or you are born or through an accident have a different formed hand. Holding a standard controller can be hard because the buttons and joystick are rigid. Like, you cannot move them. They are always sat where they're sat. So for them, this can be a really good thing.
You could do things like if you're a player who only has your left hand and you want to be able to use the left analog stick, but the game you're playing doesn't really need a D-pad, but it does need your X, your cross, square, triangle, and circle. You could put those on the left near the left joystick and have those things on the left. You could move around where things are on the controller. If your game didn't really need some of the buttons, you could make other buttons bigger, for example, so they're easier to hit. Those things are great potentials this could have as an option.
Absolutely. And you can make things like one-handed controllers, which is genius. We need that for PlayStation because we don't have that yet. So we absolutely need these things. Like, I can see the positive, but, and again, cannot lie, so big. Buttons aren't the enemy. Okay,
and let's be clear.
Bring back
for
buttons.
Some people, buttons are the enemy. For some people, even a low resistance button is going to be too much of a button to press, and a touchscreen input is going to be easier. But for a lot of people, buttons are absolutely fucking vital. A good example of this is sightless blind players talk about this a lot. Outside of video games, I've talked to a lot of blind people who are like, I hate that I can't buy a washing machine anymore that doesn't have a touchscreen. They're all touchscreens.
Yes.
Because if you're someone that can't see, you can't use, like, I'm going to feel with my thumb for where that dial is I need to turn, because there's no physical response. And you can do haptics, you can do, like, rumble and vibration, but you're still having to move your thumb across inputs and potentially accidentally set some of those inputs in order to feel the haptic response that you've reached them. It's not a good replacement for I can rest my fingers and I can feel that they're in the right place to do my buttons via feel.
Yes. And also that in general, there is still to this day so many problems with things that sort of have a screen rather than an actual button when it comes to something that is controlled by your hand. Because well, maybe I am wrong with saying this, because people use their phone all the time, smartphones that have like no button inputs.
Yeah.
But the way we use controller, I feel like there is such a big chance for things to get destroyed here and things to not work properly, because a phone has this glass thing which makes it really sensitive to your touch, and also it can be really easy to use by blind people when they like can have like double tap and they can move their hand over without having to like touch anything and then double tap to open things. look up some how like blind people use smartphones. Is really cool way and cool technologies. There are possibility there, but I don't see that being taken in, because when it is a controller, I feel like what we are more thinking about here is how the touch thing on the PlayStation already work. And I, for the life of me, have so much trouble with it all the time.
Yeah. I think a big part of the difference between like using my phone as a touch input and using a controller as a touch input is when I'm typing on my phone, I am looking at my phone and I'm looking as I'm doing each precise input. I'm looking for the button I've tapped to sort of like visually change a bit so I know I tapped it successfully. When I'm gaming, I need to be looking at the screen and away from my controller.
Yes.
And so much of the tools I use for navigating touchscreens for me are I'm looking at the touchscreen to make sure that the touch buttons have registered properly in a way where with actual buttons, I can hear the click, I can feel the down and up motion. I can use feeling to know if I'm in the right place or if I've done an input, like a single input or a double input, in a way that I'm just not that confident with touchscreens alone.
And like how the PlayStation controller are today with the touchscreen they already have, like it is wonky. I have many games where it doesn't properly work. Like I press on one side and it accidentally opened the other side, or something brushes over it and it just does things. So I am, if they're going toward more of a phone, then I'm afraid of the price and all of these things.
Yeah.
And then if they already use the idea they already have, I am a bit more like, okay, but then all the other problems you just said. So I do not know. Well, like I buttons aren't enemies. I am.
I can I can see a world where if this was an optional, different kind of controller that you could choose to buy, that this might be a more accessible option for some players. But I do not want this to be the future of, like, default controllers.
No, and I am scaredly afraid of the price.
Yeah. We'll see if this ever surfaces. Couple of other quick ones we've got. We got some information about the accessibility stuff that's going to be coming to Forza Horizon 6, which is coming out in a couple of months. That's going to have high contrast mode.
Whoa.
That's great. Love to see high contrast mode confirmed. There are going to be visual indicators to help with things like car proximity, auto drive to help keep you on the predicted standard driving line. What hasn't been confirmed explicitly is whether the Forza Motorsport blind driving assist audio features are coming.
Yep.
Because some of the stuff like this car proximity radar, the auto drive, are parts of how Forza Motorsport's blind driving assists work. But these wouldn't be enough by themselves alone for some sightless blind players to play. We're crossing our fingers to go, are they bringing that Forza Motorsport stuff over as well?
Absolutely.
But high contrast,
Yay!
That's great to see. Glad to have it confirmed. Keeping an eye open for more stuff to get announced. And the last one I want to very quickly mention is that the Games for Blind Gamers Jam 5 has kicked off now. This is a thing I talked about last year's one of this in the Accessibility Summer Showcase. This is a 1 month long game jam trying to create different kinds of video games in different genres playable by blind gamers, but trying to come up with like genres that haven't been tackled before and new interesting ways to make them accessible. That's going to be running through all of February. This produced some really interesting games last year, so I recommend keeping an eye open on it. If you've got time this month and you want to try and make a little game jam project, look it up. If not, at the end of this month, check out the entries anyway, because there's bound to be some really interesting games in here.
Absolutely. But Lara, you have a news for the last.
I have news.
Yes, because isn't there a summer case this year as well?
There is,
yes!
Yeah! There's an Accessibility Summer Showcase for 2026 is happening. And I need to pull up the website so I can have that the information in front of me. It's happening on the day that Summer Games Fest kicks off, which is, I'm stalling for time, June 9th, 2026. is going to be the day. It's going to be 4 p.m. UK. We're going to have American Sign Language, British Sign Language, audio described versions as ever. Um, if you are a game developer who wants to showcase a game that is accessible to a range of disabled players, you can reach out to me at laurakbuzzofficial@gmail.com. The deadline for reaching out to me is going to be about 3 weeks before the showcase airs, so that I have time to. Well, the trailer. The blah, blah, blah. End of May is the latest you can reach out to me to maybe be included in the showcase. 3 weeks before the showcase, I need to have trailers so that I can make the accessible adapted versions of them. But yeah, we're doing another showcase this year.
Yay! I can't wait. It's going to be amazing.
I'm excited. I'm already roping you into doing stuff for it this year.
Yes! But, Laura, that's it for today. Where can people find you?
People can find me at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. Patreon, that's the one that pays the bills. As little as $1 a month over there lets me keep doing all of the projects I do. But even if you can't support me financially over there, that's a great place to sign up for free and get a little email update anytime I post some new stuff on the internet. I've got a new project coming out in a few weeks. I don't know when the first one's going to go up, but we've recorded the first one. I've started recording a Star Trek discussion podcast with Jeffrey Bunting called Where Everybody Has Been Before, because we're well aware that the idea of a Star Trek episode discussion podcast is well trodden ground. It's not new. But we're going to have fun with it regardless. Our first episode coming up at some point this month, probably. We talk about a random two-parter episode from Star Trek Prodigy, the children's animated Nickelodeon spin-off of Star Trek that Jeffrey had never seen before. So he's jumping into like a season 2 finale with zero context. It's a fun discussion. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be sometime this month, and I think the plan is for it to go up on alternating Thursdays. So one Thursday will be Control Alt Access, the next will be Where Everybody Has Gone Before. You'll be able to hear Star Trek discussions on the weeks that you're not hearing me and Arevia talk about accessibility.
Yay!
But what about you, Arevia? Where are you out on the internet?
I am everywhere under the name Arevia, except for TikTok, because somebody stole my name, where I am Arevia Gaming, and I will continue giving you short form content about everything accessibility. And also, if you are Norwegian, keep your eyes out, because I have figured out that there isn't enough information out there in Norwegian. So I will start making some YouTubes in Norwegian as well. More information for that to come, but information, like pure information, like accessibility, information on how to use controllers and games and like these basic things. Because what I have figured out is that when you already are in a stressful situation with dealing with a disability, or somebody close to you has to deal with a disability, also having the barrier of a second language is hard. So I have taken it on myself to actually then translate a lot of information over to Norwegian. So that will come, and I'm looking forward to post about that. So, yay!
Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We'll be back with another of these in a couple of weeks. Goodbye!
Bye.